I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you and welcome everybody. The first item on the agenda this evening is to first approve the agenda, so I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as posted and sent to the news media 24 hours prior.
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Holmstrom, second by Ms. Griefy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the leadership statement. I just want to remind everybody that the city of Hampton endeavors at all times to promote and model the principles of professionalism, trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. In conducting this evening's meeting, we expect that all participants will act in a respectful manner consistently with these principles. Next is the council workshop report from Monday, June 23rd, 2025. I won't read that to you, but it is available online if anybody would like to review that. The next item up on tonight is the public comment. So I don't know if there's anybody here that may have public comment for us. Going once, not hearing anything, so we'll move on. Thank you. First item we have we have a public hearing for the regarding the fiscal year 25 budget amendment number 2. So this being the time and place for the public hearing and regarding to the fiscal year 25 budget amendment number 2. Mayor Birdsall will open the hearing here at 6:03. And Mr. Dunt.
Thank you, Mayor. Amendment number 2, this is related to the principal and interest and administration fees related to the SRF State Revolving Fund water revenue bond payment and the associated fund transfers for that debt payment of principal and interest. That's the only item under this amendment. Are there any questions? And then ask for public comment, I guess, Mayor.
Questions at all? Any public? Okay, no input there, so we have 0 requests there. All right, not hearing any comments, so we will go ahead and close this public hearing at 6:04 and move on to another public hearing. This is on the matter of adoption of the plan and specs, forms of contract and estimate for cost for the construction of the 2025-2026 HMA street rehabilitation program. So given this being the time and place for the public hearing and regarding to the adoption of the plans, specifications, a form of contract and estimate of cost for the construction of the 2025-26 HMA street rehabilitation program, Mayor Birdsall will open the public hearing at 6:05. Did you have anything, Mr.
No, we'll
Dunn,
just
or
turn it over to Mark
Mr. Crawford?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, members of the council. This is the 2025-2026 street rehab program. This is a continuation of the city's successful street maintenance program you've been doing for the last 10 or 12 years. This coming year's project consists of 7th Street Southeast from First Avenue to Central, 6th Street Southeast from First Avenue to Central, Federal Street South from First Avenue to Second Avenue. Those are the base bid items in the project. We had one bid alternate. That bid alternate was for 12th Avenue Northeast from Federal Street to 4th Street. So the plans were prepared, the plans were sent out to contractors, and a little later we'll talk about the results of that.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Crawford at this point? Okay, not hearing any. Is the public have any comment or any questions for the public hearing? And not hearing, so we will go ahead and close this public hearing at 6:06 and move on. Old business, we have nothing, so we'll go right on to the new business. This is a request from the chamber relating the 2025 fair parade lineup and route.
And
Mr. Davies?
I can speak on behalf of the
okay.
chamber. The route essentially is the same as last year, would be lining up on 12th Avenue, rather, I guess 155th Street. As you know, like last year, due to the construction of the high school, it's not feasible to line up in the lot, nor probably will it ever be with the addition. There's just not enough room because the parade is so popular. So we would then move from the high school down to down First Street Northwest to First Avenue Northwest, turn west, and then it would end at about 10th Street Northwest where the floats and the entries would disperse.
Okay, so pretty much what we had.
Pretty much the same
So
as last year.
that should work out. Does anybody got any comments on that? Any suggestions? You at the parade and get your candy, all that stuff. All right. Not hearing any questions, I'm going to entertain a motion to approve the request from the chamber to relating to the 2025 fair parade lineup and route.
So moved. I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Palmer, second by Mr. Lamos. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item, we have the, consider awarding the June 2025 Image of Pride Award to Viola, I just pronounced her name,
Zabel.
Babel, with property at 826 21st Ave Street Northwest. Mr. Griefy.
I nominated Viola Zabel. She isn't able to be here tonight because of a recent foot injury, but her house is meticulously cared for. The inside is just as darling as the outside, and she is the sweetest lady. She did voice concerns to me. This is the first time in 83 years that she hasn't been able to mow her lawn herself. She had to hire that out because of her foot injury. But she is out there puttering in that yard all the time. Very open, very friendly lady. She grew up in the Sheffield area, moved away for 40 years, and then relocated back here in Hampton into this darling little house, which she has done extensive work on. And it's just adorable, just as adorable as she is.
All right. So I'm going to take that as a motion by Ms. Griefy
Yes.
to award the 2025, June 2025 Image of Pride to Viola Zabel for the property at 826 First Street Northwest. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
A second by Mr. Davies. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we wish she has our Image of Pride. And I want to give her a hand because I think it's great when people will take care of their properties like they do that.
Would
And
you like to deliver her certificate?
I can do
She
that.
would be thrilled.
We got it.
We'll figure out a time.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll get together. All right, thank you. Next item, we got the consider appointments to the three library positions expiring June 30th, 2025. Mr. Dunt.
Yeah, so we had 3 applicants, Dick Paulson and Becky Palmer and Jocelyn Stock. And so we have 3 openings, so I would recommend that the council appoint each of those 3 for the vacancies.
All right.
Can we make a nomination for all 3 at once, or do we need to do them one at a
I
time?
will entertain a motion at this point to make the following appointments to the library board positions, which would be Dick Paulson, Becky Palmer, and Jocelyn Scott.
So moved.
Stock.
I'll second.
I got a motion by Ms. Griefy, second by Mr. Davies. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And I'm abstaining on that.
Okay. Mr. Palmer will abstain. Motion carries, and congratulations. And Ms. Jennifer would like to get a picture. Bill, I know Dick is not here, but he'll be the not pictured in the paper. So, or we got a phone and something. I guess up here.
All the way up here by the flag?
Sure.
Okay.
We-
On the stage. Oh, I didn't bring a book. I didn't even bring my purse.
I didn't either.
Great, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I saw you somewhere.
I know. Somewhere we had to eat. I think.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, moving forward. Need a request, or consider a request for property owner Juan Bello for privacy fencing near the north side of the new location of the skate park. Mr. Dunt.
Yeah, so this was discussed at the workshop. I think the consensus at the workshop was to have the city pay for a privacy fence. Doug has contacted Mason's or River City Fence to have them come and give some cost estimates and different types of fences. So I think tonight, though, we just look for something, some formal action to allow staff to move forward with fencing up there. So I guess we just look for a motion of whatever the council decides.
I would make a motion that we do move forward with the privacy fencing for the Bello property.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion by Ms. Griefy to move forward with the fencing. Second by Mr. Palmer. Any further discussion on
Just a
this?
point of clarification, the fence would not necessarily be on their property, but it would be
On city property.
city property.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Correct. Yep. All right. And no other comments? I would, yes. Are you representing them?
Yeah, the second part of that request for Memorial Day, I think Councilman Davies even said he was going to get a fundraising campaign for Memorial Day for
Right, right. So this would just to take care of the fence right now, and then we'll work with that,
That'd be a private.
with that separately. Yep, thank you. So all in favor of constructing the privacy fence?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries, thank you. Oh, next we got to pay some bills. So I'd entertain a motion to approve the claims as submitted to this by staff in the amount of $184,180.50.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Palmer, second by Ms. Griefy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, next item, we got the consideration of an approval of ordinance and resolutions. First one on the list is ordinance 406. It's an ordinance amending chapter 56, dangerous and vicious animals. This will be the third and final reading.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion by Mr. Palmer to approve it, second by Mr. Davies. I won't read it, I won't review the details because we've been through that and we all know what they are. It's just, then again, this is the third and final reading. So any further discussion on this?
I have some discussion on this.
Okay.
It's my last opportunity, and I think I'm going to take it. A few points I'd like to make. Unfortunately, it was stated at the last meeting that I was unwilling to listen and show respect and acknowledge the experience of the other council members. This is unfortunate because I don't believe it's true. I do, in fact, respect each of you, not only for your input and experience, but also for your willingness to step forward and represent our city. I firmly believe that understanding and listening to another person's point of view is crucial. And I agree with the mayor that decisions should be based on data and facts and sound reasoning. And I want to make it clear that I commend the council's efforts, which they have stated are aimed at enhancing public safety and to ensure responsible dog ownership. I just disagree that this proposal will move us any closer to that goal. I listened to Councilman Griffey and Councilman Davis talk about all of the good things that the Chamber of Commerce is doing, which is great. Many of the ideas are similar to the Clear Lake events, the Tuesdays on the Town, the flower baskets, the lighted Christmas parades, and others. And I can attest that I have never been to a community celebration or an event at Clear Lake or any other destination where dogs were not welcome. There have been many occasions where I've lost count at the sheer number of dogs at these events, and many of the destinations even have dog water bowls and outside of business entry doors and treats inside for animals. Yet with our immediate seizure of an animal on the initial investigation proposal, it won't take long for word to get out to visitors of Hampton that labels our city as unwelcoming and unfriendly to dog owners. This designation is one that will not help our Chamber of Commerce attract visitors. I want you all to know that when this amendment first came up the first reading, I didn't agree with it then, but I did listen. And in my opinion, there were so many discrepancies in what I was hearing. I thought there must be something that I was missing, something that all of the councilmen were aware of that I wasn't. Before the next meeting, I began searching for what that might be. I spoke with the city manager. I spoke with the chief of police. I spoke with the postmaster. I spoke with several of the councilmen yourselves. I listened to all the responses, and to this day, no one has provided me with a clear picture of what actually took place and caused this process to begin. What I found in my search was that there was no record of a mail carrier's attack found at the police station. While I was at the police station, I was informed by the police chief that to the best of his knowledge, this ordinance change was being considered because of an animal attack which occurred on June 30th, 2024, when a large dog escaped from his yard and attacked a mother and her granddaughter, walking their dog, and the granddaughter was bitten by this loose dog. At this first step, under our current ordinance, that dog should have immediately been declared vicious by the officer and should have been impounded. Our current ordinance 55.12 at large impoundment dogs and cats found at large in violation of this chapter shall be seized and impounded, or at the discretion of the police officer, the owner may be served a summons to appear before the proper court and answer charges made thereunder. Our section 56.01, paragraph 8 of our current ordinance states a vicious animal means any animal that has bitten or clawed a person or persons while running at large, and the attack was unprovoked. For violations of our current section 55.06, running at large, the first offense was $50. The second offense is $100. The third offense is $300. And over the third offense is to be determined by the court. If the following current ordinance had occurred, the second attack by the same dog would never have occurred. And the second time that this happened, and the dog attacked an animal, it had to be destroyed and put down. This never would have taken place if our ordinance was followed. Thus, through a series of missteps, which I have previously explained, this information was not brought to the attention of the council for 39 days after the initial attack. No new ordinance could address this situation. Yet I still thought that there was more to the story heard after this first reading. So I approached the postmaster. Searching his files, the postmaster also found no report of a dog being chased, running down the block, knocked down, scared loose by a dog. He did acknowledge that he had heard a carrier falling down, and a carrier kept her satchel between the dog and herself while falling down. He spoke to that carrier later that day and verified that what he recalled about the incident was in fact what happened. I want you to know that I have absolutely no doubt, and I am not sure of whom, whether it was the police chief, the postmaster, the mail carrier, or even just a passerby, came to the city council and relayed to the council a story about a mail carrier being chased and knocked down. It is still unclear to me if the council followed up to get the facts of the situation. Was the carrier bitten? Was the carrier chased? Was a report made to the Hampton police? Was the dog impounded? Was it fined? Was the dog licensed? What was the status of the offending dog? Still, even at our last meeting that we held on this issue, it was stated that no one followed up on this incident or even knows the current status of that offending dog. But it really doesn't matter which incident brought this proposed change about. But I hope that we can all agree we would not be here tonight discussing this event if our current ordinance had been followed. I've heard a fellow congressman state that this amendment only makes minor changes to the current ordinance. This is not true. This proposed amendment completely turns our current dog ordinance on its ear, with changes which include immediate seizure and impoundment. There is no definition of what a vicious dog is, and even if your dog, after appeal, is declared non-vicious, our citizens still have to pay the impoundment fees, and they also have to pay microchipping fees, which will unfairly affect the financially impaired of our city. And just to be clear, nowhere have I been able to find it stated that impoundment costs are part of responsible pet ownership. I have heard on several occasions that this action is necessary to improve the safety of our citizens. Yet, I wonder, did anyone ever ask our police chief, who I hope desires to defuse any situation that he comes upon, if he actually thinks a situation like this proposed ordinance can be diffused, which states, at the initiation of the investigation, the officer shall immediately seize the animal alleged to be vicious and cause it to be impounded, pending the results of an investigation. Let me give you a little example of a very real situation. Imagine this, an elderly widow or widower who has a little dog as her only companion, who one day steps out to have a pleasant conversation with the mailman, and the little dog escapes out the door and snaps at the mailman because he thinks he is protecting his owner and bites the mailman. The post office is required to report this, whether he wants to or not. And I know from experience the mailman doesn't want to report it, but has to, or else he'll face discipline. The postmaster doesn't really want to report it, or he could face losing his job. But whether they want to or not, they will report it to the police officer. The officer has no choice, as he will be required to investigate. And the new ordinance requires seizure of the animal and impoundment. I'm wondering if any of our councilmen, Councilman Lemos, Councilman Davis, Griefy, Palmer, do you want any part of immediate seizure of an elderly person's dog, his only or her only real daily companion? Just because the officer cannot use his discretion in this matter because the proposed ordinance requires the dog to be seized and impounded. And can you imagine how this immediate seizure will affect the animal who has probably never spent a night away from his home in his life, and now he's locked in a kennel with many other barking dogs? The proposed ordinance also states if the officer determines that the animal meets the definition of a vicious animal, said animal shall be declared vicious. Let me ask you this. How is the officer going to even determine if this dog is vicious or not? Nowhere in this new proposal is there to be found a definition of what determines what a vicious dog is. At least our old ordinance defines what constitutes a vicious dog. I've spoken to several dog owners concerning this, and to a one, I have been told that if the police shows up at their door, tries to seize their dog, they better have a warrant. This indicates to me that the police may have a hard time defusing these type of situations. In fact, instead of being able to defuse this situation, I can see these situations actually escalating. Under Iowa law, if an animal is licensed and vaccinated, that animal is considered personal property. I honestly think that you are setting a city up for a violation of the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution. This amended ordinance does not provide any procedural safeguard to prevent arbitrary or justified seizures of personal property, which would maintain a balance between individual rights and public safety as our current ordinance does. Under Iowa law, I'll repeat it, if an animal is licensed and vaccinated, that animal is considered personal property. This fact alone should encourage every animal owner in Hampton to license their pet. I have unfortunately been involved in one appeal to the city concerning a possible vicious dog. What troubled me the most about this whole appeal process was that the council members present seemed to be negotiating the conditions of the ordinance, not following the ordinance as it was written. As councilmen, we have an option before us in either situations to determine if an animal is vicious based on the current ordinance, either yes or no. But the council seemed to be negotiating the ordinance before making a determination of viciousness or not. Examples, if you promise to build a fence, or if you build a fence and have your electric fence tested every year, or if your dog gets chipped, then perhaps I'll consider non-viciousness. Even the next day, I went to our city manager and I asked him, is this how this works? Should we be negotiating or should we be following our ordinances as they come up? I applaud the mayor's objective to make things better and go forward and not backward. But this proposed amendment does neither. We have a good ordinance in place. It allows the officers to declare the dog vicious if need be. It defines what a vicious dog is. It is fair to all involved. It requires all dogs to be licensed and requires all dogs to be vaccinated, to be on a leash, to pay for impoundment if the dog is declared vicious, and the city will pay if appealed and the dog is declared not vicious. The time frame for appeals is fair to all. I know you've spent a great deal of time and expense on this, many months prior to my arrival, yet you still couldn't find the answer. And I believe that's because Hampton has a good ordinance in place already. It just has not been followed or enforced. Why create a new, poor ordinance just to cover up the fact that the current ordinance was not followed? I know you've spent a lot of time and money in an effort to improve safety of our citizens. This is an admirable goal, but just the fact that it's taken this long should tell you that perhaps we already have a good ordinance on the books, a strong ordinance. It just has to be followed. And I am asking all of my fellow council members to vote no on this amendment. I'm asking that the current amendment is followed and enforce the current ordinance and then move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Mr. Palmer.
we get emails, our packets are emailed to us every meeting, and I knew that this had been emailed to us, and so I went back and back and back, and actually, everybody in this room, Dick would have gotten this, I got it, Steve would have gotten it, Jim, Barry, and Bill. Our packet was Thursday, May 27th, 2001. In the packet, there was 3 police reports. The first one came in at about noon on 5/19/2021. Brendan Kelly spoke with Heather at the post office. She stated that the carrier went to the house on 203 6th Street Southwest. When the owner was putting the leashes on the dogs ran out of the house, went after the carrier. Heather stated that the carrier fell to the ground and that this was the second time that this had occurred at this residence. The first time was July 22nd, 2020, when the terrier mix dog bit her on the arm. It appears that this is the second vicious occurrence in a 12-month period. The same turn of events was named again in another police report. Heather with the post office called referencing a couple dogs just chased her mail carrier Leslie Love at the Jenny Turner residence. She had used her bag to ward off the dogs. She fell to the ground, advised the dogs were pit and corgi mix. Caller advised that the corgi mix was the same dog that bit Leslie last year, is very scared and shaken up. Heather would like to have an officer follow up. And then the same was another police report that came with us. So I don't understand, just because the post office doesn't have a record of it, doesn't mean it didn't happen. The police department had a record of it. They included it in their packet. It also showed, and I was mistaken on this, I didn't think either dog was licensed, and they were, but it took a while. One was licensed out of Marshalltown, one was licensed out of Ackley. So that was they were not, I do not believe they were licensed through the city of Hampton. So anyway, there's the letter that was sent to Jenny Turner that was delivered to her personally by Mark Morrison. So whether the post office has a record of it or not, the police department does, and it happened, and it was in our packet for the May 27th, 2021 meeting.
Pat, I appreciate that. All I can say is when I went to the police station, there was no record, but I appreciate that, and I have no doubt that it occurred. What I'm saying, Pat, in both of those instances that you just described, those dogs were dogs at loose. And under our current ordinance, those dogs should have been impounded immediately. That postmaster, if she failed to go to the police first before the council, did not do what she should have done. She should have taken that matter and reported it to the police immediately, and the police should have had the opportunity at that point to impound those dogs and declare them vicious. If they attack unprovoked, at loose, our current ordinance says impound and declare vicious.
Yeah, she went to the police department first.
Okay.
But it wasn't that long. I mean, if it was on the 19th when it happened, and our hearing was on the 27th, that was the day, the time frame. I do know they were taken to the vet because at the point in time, they couldn't prove by anybody that they had vaccinations, but they did, so I don't know. Mark handled that, and Officer Kelly did too, so that's how that went.
Okay. Any other discussion at this point? Okay. If not, we do have a motion by Mr. Palmer and a second by Mr. Davies to approve the third and final reading of ordinance 406. This will be a roll call vote. There we go. Noting that Mr. Hodge is absent. So, Mr. Lamos.
Nay.
Mr. Palmer.
Aye.
Mr. Helmsman.
Nay.
Ms. Griefey.
Aye.
Mr. Davies.
Aye.
Okay. So with a rope of three to two, the third reading, it does fail at this point. So back to the drawing board.
Well, there's no drawing board. It's law. So, I mean,
It is.
if we want to do anything with it, it's back to the drawing board. If not, then it's the current rule.
Right, so that is that for now. Okay, next item up is the Resolution 2025-11, a resolution setting base wage for fiscal year 26. Mr. Dunt.
Yeah, this is Resolution 2025-11, resolution of the City Council of the City of Hampton, Iowa, setting the base wages for appointed officers and employees of the City of Hampton for fiscal year '26. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Hampton, Iowa, the following full-time positions named shall be paid the base wage indicated for fiscal year 2026, and the clerk is authorized to issue warrants, checks, less legally required and authorized deductions from the amounts set forth, and make such contributions to IPERS, Social Security, and other purposes as required by law or authorization of the City Council, all subject to audit and review by council. And all the wages are listed in the resolution. Any questions?
Any questions? We kind of went over this in our post the other day. So, no questions. I would entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2025-11.
I move we approve Resolution 2025-11.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Davies, second by Mr. Lamos. This will be a roll call vote. Mr. Holmstrom,
Aye.
Ms. Griefy,
Aye.
Mr. Davies,
Aye.
Mr. Palmer,
Aye.
Mr. Lamos.
Aye.
Motion. Resolution is passed. Thank you. Next item is the Resolution 2025-12. This is the resolution adopting plans, specs, and form of contract and estimate of cost for the 2025-2026 HMA Street Rehabilitation Program. Mr. Crawford kind of went over that with us here in just a little bit. Did you have any more to add to that?
Nothing.
Okay. So at this point, I'd entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2025-12.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Griefy,
Second.
second by Mr. Holmstrom. This will be all roll call vote. I'm going to practice that for you. First item, Mr. Palmer,
Aye.
Ms. Griefy,
Aye.
Mr. Davies,
Aye.
Mr. Lamos,
Aye.
Mr. Holmstrom.
Aye.
Resolutions passes. Thank you. Next resolution, 2025-13. Resolution making award of a construction contract for the 2025-2026 HMA Street Rehabilitation Program. Any additional information on that, Mr. Dunt?
Yeah, Mark has included on the back pages the bid tabulation showing the Heartland Asphalt was the only bidder, and his letter is the last page recommending the acceptance of the base bid plus alternate one. I don't know, Mark, did you want to add anything? Does anybody have any questions about this? We can have Mark discuss.
Why do we always end up with one bidder? Because it's such a small project?
Yeah, the asphalt industry is very territorial, and this part of the state generally just leads to one asphalt contractor doing a lot of the work. They do the work for a lot of the counties in this area, as well as several of the cities. Even as we get more into eastern Iowa, it's still very territorial, and we typically get one or maybe two bids on our asphalt jobs in that part of the state as well. So the good news is that Heartland, although they're the only bidder typically, they do submit very competitive bids. This one came in just about $35,000 under the estimate. My conversation with people in the industry, including Heartland, that's primarily a result of oil prices easing back. So their asphalt price on this particular job was under what I had estimated, which was a good thing for the city.
How will that work for our 12th Avenue?
The 12th Avenue part?
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that going to be included?
Yes. Yep.
It's alternate one.
Yeah.
It's the bid alternate, so it's all together.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? If not, Would entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2025-13.
I'll make that motion.
A motion by Mr. Holmstrom,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Davies. Also a roll call vote. Ms. Griefy,
Aye.
Mr. Lamos,
Aye.
Mr. Holmstrom,
Aye.
Mr. Davies.
Aye.
Mr. Palmer.
Aye.
All right, resolution is adopted. Thank you. And I think we got one more, Resolution 2025-14. This is a resolution adopting of the budget amendment number 2 for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025. Mr. Dunt.
I don't have anything more to add unless anybody has any questions.
Any questions? I would entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2025-14.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Griefy, second by Mr. Palmer. It's the last time. Roll call vote. Mr. Holmstrom,
Aye.
Mr. Davies.
Aye.
Mr. Lamos.
Aye.
Mr. Palmers.
Aye.
Ms. Griefy.
Aye.
Resolution is passed. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. This will include the previous minutes as drafted from the June 12th, 2025 regular special session, and the Monday, June 9th, 2025 exempt special session. This will schedule the next regular session as Thursday, July 10th, 2025 at 6 p.m. in the council chambers, and approve the tobacco licensing renewal for American Eagle 34. American Eagle 43005 LLC 4th Street Southeast, Hampton. Motion.
I'll make a motion, but I do have a question when we come to it.
Go ahead.
I just want to talk to the chief on this. Is this the BP station or across from Get and Go?
Yes.
Did they figure out their little glass pipe situation and?
Yeah, we had the appeal hearing with the state. They did not show up and didn't have any representation during that hearing, and so we won by default, but they had 15 days to appeal, and I'm assuming that's pretty close to up. I haven't heard, but I'll follow up on that.
But you're recommending they can do this tobacco stuff?
It's on for tonight.
Yeah. I mean, we can pull it out, I'm assuming.
I don't know that there's anything on the tobacco end of it that we can deny them for at this point, so we can go through the state to do that if we need to.
Okay, all right.
Okay. All right.
My
Thank you.
motion still stands.
Motion by Mr. Palmer. Any second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Lamos. Any further discussion? Not? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Move on to our staff reports. Chief Morrison.
Sorry, I was focused on the dog tonight, so then I forgot to read all the way to the end on the tobacco licensing, but thank you. Anyway, I don't have anything further on any report tonight unless there's questions. The officers have been preparing for trial prep in the upcoming weeks, and we're working on the fair parade stuff and fair week, so.
Any questions for Mr. Morrison? Not hearing any. Thank you. Mr. Tar.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. the weather's kicking us in the teeth. I don't know any other way to put it, but we're trying to get a lot done. There's a lot going on, and I didn't prepare anything too extensive for tonight, so I'll just entertain questions.
Go ahead.
About 5 or 6 people have asked me at the last council meeting, you talked about a house that got seized by some,
U.S. Marshals.
yeah, what kind of, without getting into too much detail, what happened, what was the cause of that, what was the reasoning behind that?
I don't know if I'm at liberty to
Okay.
say all that, so.
Okay, all right.
If I hear something, though, that I am allowed, I'll let you know.
Okay, all right.
What was that address?
920 4th Avenue Southeast.
All right, Mr. Lamos.
I got a couple questions about the library wall. Is there damage there, or what's the plan? Are we going to put a,
It's not a we, it's basically, there's a contractor has been involved. Now, our job was to just remove that, and then we had a contractor, Mr. Wickwire. He's coming in to look at doing some, I think, a little bit of tuck pointing on some of that decorative stuff down towards the bottom. And then possibly, I believe Susie and I's last conversation earlier this week was that there was a recommendation to possibly do a little bit more of vapor barrier down below. There wasn't anything that we could visually see that was causing the leak that they were having occurring a little bit. But it definitely looked like there was a couple of spots that could have been subject to that. So he's going to be sealing up some of that and doing some tuck points, some work around that. And then after that's done, then there's going to be a retaining wall installed, and then that'll have some drainage and stuff put behind it. And then after that, I believe Tony's Concrete's hired to do new stairwell up to that door on the north.
the tile that's hooked to the downspout, does that go
Yeah.
to the storm sewer?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
It comes out of there, and then everything runs to the east.
So with all this rain, we haven't had any infiltration?
Not that I'm aware of. Nothing's been reported to me. I've drove by it a couple times and looked. It seems to be actually working great, so that's not a bad thing.
Okay.
But I do think it's going to get added to a little bit with
Yeah.
some tiling maybe behind that wall.
The Industrial Park Road,
Yes.
is that sand going to be swept off to the side, or is it just going to stay there till it works its way out?
It'll work its way out. If anyone has any excess that they're talking about that they might be having problems with, just they need to let me know. I'll come and sweep it up and get rid of some of that. We just haven't had a chance to get to it. The finished product, there's definitely an improvement there. My opinion, is it a 100% improvement? Absolutely not, but it's way better than it was. So I
Will
think
that
was
get
the
a
goal.
center line marking?
I don't know. We hadn't planned for that. We may, but honestly, I think we want to wait till it wears down a little bit more before we do something like
Right.
that, because if we do it on top of that sand, it's just going
Right.
to disappear.
Yeah.
So I think give it some time, and if we find that we need that, we can definitely do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Nope. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Dunt.
Just a thank you to Becky Palmer, Jocelyn Stock, and Dick for serving on the library board. We appreciate their willingness to step up and serve. And also thank you to Councilman Bill Hodge for his years of service as a councilman for the community. Answer any questions if anybody has any.
Not seeing or hearing any. Thank you. Move on to our council reports. Start with Mr. Davies.
Yes, I just want to thank Bill for his service and congratulations to the library appointees, board appointees. And the Main Street Iowa Educational Forum was held at the Windsor Theater on Wednesday. 30-plus people from out of town spent the day and ate at local restaurants, bringing a few dollars to town. And they did a walk-around of the downtown area, and I will write that up and share those comments with council and the community, hopefully within the next week or two. Another item, the REA Museum ceremony for the National Historic Landmark status will be on Wednesday, July 9th at 11 o'clock. Iowa Secretary of Agriculture Mike Naig will be presenting the award. There'll be an open house out at the museum from 10:30 to 12:30. The public's invited and council will be receiving an invitation to that. That is during the Wednesday of the fair. And I do have a Preserve Iowa Summit report I attended on behalf of the Hampton Historic Preservation Commission. That is in the council packets, and that was, I think, also in the last issue of the Hampton Chronicle. But if anyone needs to, would like to read that, I do have a copy for you. And then just finally, just my condolences to the family of Sally Hemis. She passed away. Her family, her father, grandfather owned the Windsor Theater for many, many years, and just a wonderful lady, wonderful family. But again, I just want to extend my condolences to the family of Sally Hemis. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Holmstrom.
Well, I also want to thank Bill Hodge for his service to the community and congratulate the new library board members. A few weeks ago, I had asked about community emergency shelters, and Officer Morrison was kind enough to do some research on that. And if I could, I'd just like to read a little bit of what he sent us on our email concerning that issue. It says, I've checked with the community shelter, and the city of Hampton and the Franklin County do not have any FEMA-approved storm shelters. He went on to give us some advice from the guidance of the National Weather Service. Most communities in our areas don't have public shelters, but some do. Check with your local emergency manager or fire department to see if there is a public storm shelter near you. If you live in a well-built home, there's probably a safe area in your home that would protect you from almost any tornado. If you have a basement, that's the first place to look. In general, look for a small room or closet on the lowest floor and away from the outside walls, doors, and windows. There are no safe areas in any mobile home, and you should not attempt to shelter from a tornado in a mobile home. If you live in an apartment or rental housing, ask the manager if there is a shelter for residents to use, either on property or nearby. If you live in a mobile home park, check to see if there is a community shelter on the property. Check with coworkers, friends, and families in the immediate area to see if they have a shelter that you can use, or even just a place to go where you would feel safer. If you will have to drive to get to your shelter, plan ahead. You cannot wait until the warning is issued. Figure out where you will go to be safe and go there long before the warning is issued from where you are. Stay informed about the weather conditions and plan your day to ensure you'll be close to the shelter during the storm. Also, there's a quick reminder that our 3 tornado sirens in Hampton and around town are part of an outdoor warning system and not meant to be heard indoors. For storm-related announcements in your home, you should rely on news, weather, alert radios, weather apps, and radio, etc. So thank you, Officer Morrison, for that information.
Thank you. Mr. Lamos.
I'd like to have a conversation at our next planning session. If our asphalt projects came in under bid, I'd like to see the alley behind Napa and Pit Row asphalted. It's a high traffic area and it's not held up. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Palmer.
Well, I was hoping Bill would be here tonight, but he says he's under the weather, so I'm banking on one of his daughters playing this YouTube video back, because I'm going to read what I'm going to read anyway, so whether he was here or not. I was sitting at Willie's Bar one night back in July of 2003, waiting for my classmates to trickle into our 20th class reunion, and Bill Hodge sat down at my table. "Hey, Palmer, how do you like being on the town council?" I told him that I enjoyed it, but there were some challenges. Bill said, "I just left the fire station. I think they got me talked into running for Ward 1 this fall." I told him that was great. He would add a lot to the city. Bill says, "But I'll tell you one thing. I'm not giving up my Harley. I assured him that he didn't have to give up his Harley and encouraged him to ride it to meetings. A few months later, they had a candidates forum of sorts at the old middle school, and Bill said when he got up there that he'd like to serve on the council in pretty much the same manner as Roger Palmer did, and shoot from the hip and get things done. My dad chuckled, and of course he and Bill became fast friends. Bill would come and see me at my work in Mason City at Midwest Wireless when he was working on the road for Napa. He usually showed up right after lunch because, in Bill's words, I don't want to miss my break. He also became friends with my coworker Jim, and they would banter back and forth, exchanging funny stories. Over the next several years, Bill served and continued to serve after I left the city council in 2009. Then at some point, he and my dad got tangled up on some city issue and they became estranged. Sometime after that, Bill resigned from the city council, then later got back on when there was an opening. Since his wife Jeannie was a dispatcher, Bill didn't miss much that went on and always had an ear on that scanner. After I got stopped for speeding in Sheffield one night about 10:30, Bill calls my answering machine. Patty, were you being a bad boy tonight? You just couldn't get anything past Bill. Of course, you can't mention Bill without talking about his wife Jeannie. They were like peas and carrots, milk and cookies, and vodka and orange juice. While I was friends with both of them, I was at their house one night when it became very tense between the two of them. And I'm glad I was there to be able to be there for Bill. I know that when Jeannie passed away, a big part of Bill passed away as well. After Jeannie passed, I was at Bill's house and one of his daughters was there. It was during the pandemic when we were on Zoom for every meeting. I said to her that I knew very soon our meetings were going to be on YouTube and that she could watch them no matter where they were at. At this point in time, like a fortune teller, his daughter looked at me and says, "Oh, Lord, my dad's going to be on YouTube. Oh, no." Over the years, Bill and I have agreed, we've disagreed, and we've agreed to disagree. But one thing is for sure, we never became disagreeable. We'd always work things out, and I'm very, very proud of that. If he called me on the phone, it was Governor Palmer, and I'd return by saying Senator Hodge. And then he'd ask me if I knew any rumors, scoops, or scandals. Of course, as a city councilman, everyone knew his disdain for pickleball. That hatred was only exceeded. That hatred was only exceeded by his hatred for Mediacom, Waste Management, and any Iowa Hawkeye block party thrown by Tom Rooney. A few years ago, at the League of Cities, Bill and I shared a room together in Waterloo at what some would call the Best Western. After me letting Bill have the king-size bed and I took the pull-out couch, I would refer to it as the mediocre Western. This was Bill's first and last League of Cities event. Bill had a fun time, probably too much fun if you ask me or Mayor Birdsell. But he made friends there as well. In life, Bill never met a stranger, including the gal at the conference who Bill dubbed Donna Do Ya Wanna, and they still remain friends to this day. It's been an honor to serve with Bill over the years. I wouldn't be sitting here tonight if Bill didn't have a hand in my nomination in 2019 for my open at-large seat. Before my dad died, he had a bad heart condition that affected his mental health, and he was angry at a lot of people, many times for no reason. He and I, at one time, didn't speak for 3 months over something stupid. However, one of the best things happened before my dad passed away in 2008 was that he and Bill rekindled their friendship in Bradford, Iowa, of all places, as Bill helped my dad into his pickup when my dad had lost some strength from his heart condition. I was truly happy for both of them when that happened. Back when my dad was mayor, he'd give out keys to the city for service to our community that was above and beyond. He was very proud of that, and I happen to have one of those keys, and I would like to present it to Bill, as I know that's what my dad would have wanted. On the back, I wrote, "Bill, thank you for being my friend. Bill, I'd like to have this key. Maybe it will open a few doors for you down the road wherever life takes you. With your votes on many, many projects in Hampton, you've made Hampton a better place. And Senator Hodge, I'm proud to call you a friend." Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Griefey.
Well, we had first thing I want to say is what a great guy Ron Dunt is. We had our Chamber of Commerce 50-50 drawing, and guess who won? And guess what he did with his winnings? He gave it back. He returned half of it to the Chamber of Commerce and half of it to the Windsor Theater. So thank you very much, Ron. That
Glad to
was
do it.
really appreciated. Continuing to water the flower baskets, the volunteers that are stepping forward are amazing, and I'm excited about all that. I'm also excited about all the rain because we don't have to water so often. I am disappointed that I have to go back to my ward and tell them, whoops, we decided not to make the vicious dog ordinance tougher for you. We spent a lot of time and a lot of money on it, and we're not going to do it. I'm hoping it's not dead. We'll keep working on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, for my report, I just want to thank you, the applicants for the library board, and congratulations. And we need volunteers immensely, so thank you very much for reaching out for that. And the other thing I had was Bill. And, you know, Bill is Bill. So I had some notes made, so I'm just going to give you a brief update. Even though Bill's not here, but like Pat said, his daughters will probably see this and listen to it. So Bill Hodge, you know, what a lot of terms come to mind when you hear the name Bill Hodge. He's several things to this city. Number one, he's a historian. He's been on there, 25 or 15 years-ish with the city council. He knows all about Hampton, Charles City, Rudd, and probably a few more towns in between. So he'd be able to get us on the right page. He's our comic relief. You know, I mean, if we were too tense up here, Bill would break the ice. Trust me, one way or the other, good or not. He's a good workout partner. I probably wouldn't be working out today if I hadn't known Bill. So, and there's an inside piece to that, but we'll just leave that between me and Bill. He's a confidant, you know. Sometimes he just needs a place somebody to talk to, or vice versa. You know, he was always there. He's a good friend. He's been a good friend for me, and hopefully will continue. He was a mentor of sorts. Sometimes Bill, you know, he just helped you learn how not to say something. You know, I'm going to say this, but you probably want to do this. So that I learn a lot from a lot of people, and both ways. And then number 6, we know how highly Bill holds the sort of sports of pickleball and cycling. And so I have a set of pickleball rackets out in the car, and I will deliver them to him when we're done here. And of course, we've got to meet the Rooney's Hawkeye parties, and Bill just loved going to them. He loved the Hawkeyes. Not really. But all in all, I mean, just this serious moment. Bill has been an asset to this city council for 15 plus years. He's helped move our community forward, you know. And everybody knows me, we don't go backwards. We're going to go forward. And for that, I just say, thank you, Bill Hodge. And that's all I need to say. So thank you for listening. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the regular session. Motion by Mr. Palmer.
I'll second.
Didn't know anybody wants to go to bed. All right. Got a motion by Mr. Palmer, second by Mr. Lamos. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you. Yep. There is cake back here. Bill's not here, but there's cake. So help yourself. Grab a piece of cake.